Clara was a beloved school teacher who was known for her patience and kind heart. However, tragedy struck when her only daughter Sophia fell gravely ill. Despite her best efforts and countless sleepless nights caring for Sophia, Clara was unable to save her. The loss shattered her world, leaving her not only grieving but also broke financially from the overwhelming medical bills. Clara sat quietly under the dim light of a flickering street lamp, the cold wind whipping through her thin coat as she hugged herself tightly in an attempt to stay warm. Heartbroken and homeless one fateful evening, as the rain poured mercilessly, Clara wandered from shelter to shelter with nothing but Sophia's worn-out diary, a treasured memento of the intelligent, inquisitive girl who had once brought her joy. She tried to maintain hope, but the weight of her situation increased daily. As the storm raged on, thunder thundering across the darkening sky, Clara sat on a park bench, soaked and shaking, and looked into the distance, wondering if life still held anything meaningful for her. Little did she know that very night, a chance encounter would change her life forever. Clara was too exhausted to care about the rain or the cold, and the numbness in her heart made the storm seem inconsequential as she curled up on the seat with her wet hair plastered to her face. When the driver's door opened and a tall man with an umbrella emerged, his sharp features were softened by a look of genuine concern as he approached her. "Are you all right?" the man asked in a calm yet commanding voice. Suddenly, a sleek black car pulled up close to her, its headlights cutting through the rain and casting long shadows across the park. Clara shook her head, unable to think of the right words to describe her predicament as she gazed up, shaking too much to reply. Clara hesitated at first because of the shadows of her past, which made it difficult to trust anyone, especially someone so polished and seemingly unaffected by adversity. However, as she looked into her eyes, she saw genuine concern rather than sympathy, and with a feeble nod, she let him help her to her feet. The man knelt down to her level. Clara was too tired to ask any more questions, so he led her into his car as they drove across the city. The man identified himself as Harry, a reclusive businessman who rarely went out in public. He didn't explain why he was there that night other than the fact that he couldn't leave her in the rain. When they arrived at Harry's expansive mansion on the outskirts of the city, Clara's reserved demeanor softened. He asked her about her predicament, but she only gave short answers, ashamed of how far she had fallen. Nevertheless, the grandiosity of the place, with its tall ceilings, marble floors, and exquisite furnishings, stood in stark contrast to the harsh realities she had been facing as a young girl no older than 10, peeked curiously around the corner. "Emily," Harry said gently, "this is Clara Sheck, be staying with us for a while." Emily nodded shyly before withdrawing to her room, leaving Clara to wonder about the child, not realizing yet that Emily would soon become the center of her life. Her thoughts were interrupted by soft footsteps as Clara sat quietly on the plush sofa, sipping a cup of tea that Harry's staff had brought her. She felt uncomfortable in the mansion's opulence, but the kindness she had received started to ease her initial discomfort. She turned to see Emily, Harry's daughter, standing hesitantly in the doorway, her wide eyes full of curiosity and a hint of nervousness. "Hello," Clara said gently, smiling slightly. Emily moved forward hesitantly. "Will you be staying here for a while?" The girl looked pale and exhausted most of the time, and she would sometimes clutch her chest as if in discomfort. Clara responded, "Your dad was kind enough to help me last night." Emily studied her for a moment before sitting on the carpet nearby, still holding the stuffed rabbit. There was a quiet vulnerability about her that made Clara think of Sophia, but she didn't yet understand why. As the days went by, Clara started to notice subtle signs that something was wrong with Emily. One afternoon, while Harry was in his study, Clara discovered Emily sitting in the garden with her breathing labored. She hurried to the child's side and knelt down, asking, "Are you okay?" in a trembling voice. Clara's instincts as a mother kicked in, and the symptoms mirrored those Sophia had displayed during her illness. It was as if the wounds of her past had been torn open once more, overwhelming her with fear and determination. Emily grimaced as another wave of anguish swept over her without her conscious thought, but she nodded feebly. Calling for assistance, Clara took the girl in her arms and carried her inside. Almost immediately, Harry emerged, his face white with terror. "What's wrong?" "She needs a doctor." After a few minutes, a private doctor showed up and started examining Emily. Clara stood by her hands, shaking as the doctor worked, remembering how helpless she had felt and how desperately she had fought to save her daughter. When the examination was finished, the doctor drew Harry aside. Clara overheard bits and pieces of their conversation about the ambiguous diagnosis, cautious monitoring, and possible problems. That night, Harry told Clara that Emily had been ill for some time. His voice was filled with remorse as he said, "I've tried everything specialist treatment has to offer, but nothing has worked. I don't know what else to do." Harry's face darkened, and Clara's heart ached for him and Emily. With a comforting touch on his arm, Clara remarked, "I've seen these symptoms before." She whispered softly, "My daughter Sophia had something similar. If you'll let me, I can help." The following weeks, Clara dedicated herself to Emily's care, staying by her side to help her through the tough days and teaching Harry how to recognize and respond to the symptoms. Gradually, Emily started to trust Clara, and their relationship grew stronger as Harry looked at her, his guarded exterior crumbling as he realized that Clara was more than just a guest in his home. She was someone who could bring understanding and hope to a situation he had felt helpless to control. Weeks stretched into months, and Clara became a vital member of the family. Emily was no longer merely a needy child. She was a reminder of the love she had shared with Sophia and an opportunity to transform her sadness into something worthwhile. Under her care, Emily's condition had stabilized, but everyone could see that the young child was still in danger. Harry had been trying tirelessly to find a solution, but the physicians kept giving the same disheartening response. No conclusive diagnosis or treatment. After Emily had gone to bed one evening, Clara and Harry sat at the dining table. The normally stoic Harry appeared more vulnerable than ever, with his shoulders slumping and his face etched with worry. "I feel like I'm failing her." Harry acknowledged in a scarcely audible voice that despite all the resources and money, he was still unable to save his own daughter. Clara extended her arm to touch his hand. "Harry, you're trying your hardest, but perhaps there's something else we haven't thought of." There was optimism, but there was a catch. The following morning, Harry got a call from a famous physician he had seen months before. The doctor had finally examined Emily's case in detail and discovered a rare genetic issue. Emily's illness necessitated an organ transplant, and because of her unique blood type, finding a suitable donor would be nearly impossible. Time was running out, so Clara listened carefully as the doctor explained the issue. When the test results came back, something inside of her sparked a silent realization that both scared and encouraged her. Without a word, she went into the kitchen and took out her medical paperwork, which she had habitually kept in her bag. There was no denying the reality. Clara was the ideal fit. As the implications set in, the room fell silent. Harry gazed at her, his face displaying a mix of fear and gratitude. "You're willing to sacrifice your life for Emily?" Clara inhaled deeply. "I've lost one child already. Harry, when I can help, I can't stand by and watch someone else get lost." There was a lot of quiet strain in the days that followed. One night, as Clara sat in the garden, Harry joined her. He had hardly spoken since the test results had come back, struggling with the weight of the situation. "I don't know if I can let you do this," he said, his voice raw with emotion. Clara struggled with the enormity of her decision, remembering Sophia's laughter, strength, and last moments. She thought of Emily, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her favorite stories, and the way she clung to Clara when she felt scared. "I've asked you too much already." Clara turned to face him, her face since you haven't requested anything. "Harry, this is my decision. If I can give Emily the opportunity to live, grow up, and have a future, then it will be worth it." For a man who had always been in charge, Harry's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Thank you," he mumbled. The decision was made, but the fear persisted. As Clara was being prepared in the hospital on the day of the operation, she was aware of the risks and that the procedure may end in her death, but she also knew that her love for Sophia and her current love for Emily outweighed her dread. Emily held onto her hand and said, "You're not going to leave me, are you?" in a tremulous voice. As they wheeled Emily into the operation room, Kara smiled sweetly and brushed a lock of hair out of her face. "I swear, sweetie, I will do everything in my power to be with you." Clara shut her eyes. The operating room was bustling with activity, and she felt she was doing the right thing no matter what occurred next. Despite the dangers, Clara had come to terms with her choice and lay motionless on the table, her mind at ease. This was her opportunity to save. Hours went by while the medical team and Precision worked in a separate room, and Emily did for the young girl what she was unable to do for Sophia. Harry, in his typically calm manner, paced nervously in the waiting area while Emily lay under anesthesia, awaiting the organ that could save her life. When the main surgeon finally appeared, he took off his mask and declared, "The procedure was successful." He smiled, exhausted but encouraging. "Both Clara and Emily are stable." The procedure was completed, but the road to recovery was only getting started. Harry exhaled, his hands shaking with relief. As Clara awoke 2 days later in a bright hospital room, her body hurt, but as her eyes adapted to the light, she noticed Harry sitting by her bedside. His suit was crumpled and he appeared tired, but his countenance brightened as he saw her get up. Leaning forward, he whispered softly, "You're awake, Clara." "How's Emily?" Clara said in a shaky but steady voice that she would be all right. Clara's eyes filled with tears as Harry spoke in a voice full of emotion. "Thank you," she muttered. "I'm so glad that Clara and Emily remained under close medical supervision for weeks." Harry was there to make sure she had all she needed, even though Clara's recuperation was slower as her body adjusted to the stress of the treatment. Meanwhile, Emily recovered her strength more quickly than anyone had anticipated. "You're my hero, Ed." One afternoon, Emily came to Clara's room with a bright smile on her face. She climbed up on the chair next to the bed and clasped Clara's hand. Emily's voice was full of appreciation. Squeezing the girl's hand gently, Clara grinned and said, "You're pretty brave yourself, kiddo," in an unexpected twist. After Harry conferred with a group of researchers he had been supporting for years, they suggested a novel experiment and therapy that could speed up Clara's recuperation. Although Clara was initially hesitant, Harry persuaded her to undertake the procedure, and it proved effective. Clara's body started to mend more quickly than the doctors had predicted, and she was back on her feet in a matter of months. The medical staff referred to this as a miracle, but Clara saw it as evidence of the strength of science and willpower. With the vitality of a kid who had just been granted a second chance at life, Clara watched Emily Chase get butterflies in the garden of Harry's mansion one cool autumn day. Harry joined her, his hands in his pockets, and he whispered softly, "She wouldn't be here without you." Clara turned to him, her eyes warm, and she told him that she wouldn't be here without you, Harry. "You never gave up on her." They stood in silence, the weight of everything they had been through settling into the stillness in their hearts. They both knew that this was a story about love, sacrifice, and the strength of hope, not just about survival. The quiet rhythm of life at Harry's mansion gradually resumed. A tribute to the strength of love and perseverance, the once calm house was now replete with laughter and warmth as Clara had totally recovered and Emily's health improved daily. Clara and Harry became closer as the weeks stretched into months, spending time together and discussing their hopes, dreams, and anxieties. What started off as appreciation and respect quickly developed into a deeper bond based on mutual respect and trust. A year following the procedure, Harry gave Clara a heartfelt surprise. It was a cool spring evening, and the garden was illuminated by delicate fairy lights. "You entered our lives when hope seemed unattainable, and you not only saved Emily, but also saved me. You've restored love and light to our home, and I can't imagine a world without you in it." Harry invited Clara and Emily for what appeared to be a simple dinner, but as dessert was served, he got up from his chair, his hands shaking slightly. "Clara," he started speaking steadily despite the emotion churning inside of him. When Harry knelt down and revealed a delicate ring in a small velvet box, Clara's breath caught in her throat. "Will you marry me?" he asked, his eyes full of vulnerability and some tears streaming down her cheeks as she nodded yes, whispering in a voice that was trembling with joy. Emily clapped her hands excitedly and ran over to hug them both. "Does this mean we're a real family now?" she asked, her eyes wide with delight. A year later, Clara and Harry received a new baby boy with bright, inquisitive eyes, whom they called Ethan. Emily loved her little brother and showered him with affection whenever she could. Clara smiled and pulled Emily into her arms, saying, "We've always been a family." For Emily, Ethan was a gift, a younger brother who brought laughter and unending joy into their home, and for Harry, he was a reminder of the love and strength that had united their family. For Clara, Ethan represented a fresh start, a beam of light piercing the darkness of her past. To honor their journey, Harry, Emily, and Ethan created a life based on love and a common goal. The Hope and Healing Center was established by Harry and Clara with the goal of helping families in need by offering them both medical and emotional support. In order to ensure that no family would ever feel as lost or hopeless as she had, Clara gave her everything to the center. As Clara stood with Harry and their kids at the center's grand opening, she realized how far they had come. What started as a chance meeting on a stormy night had evolved into a journey of healing hope and the creation of a family bound not just by blood, but also by love. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey. The story ended not with a single act of heroism, but with the legacy of compassion. The tale of Clara and Harry serves as a potent reminder of the resilience inherent in love, hope, and second chances. If this story resonated with you, please remember to like this video and forward it to someone who may need some motivation today. There will be more tales like this one. Stories of kindness, resiliency, and remarkable ways people can transform each other's lives. Please subscribe to our channel and enable the notification bell so you don't miss any more stories that could make your day. Let's keep celebrating the wonders of humanity and the power of the human spirit. We appreciate your participation in our community, one tale at a time, and hope to see you in the upcoming video.